So, since my ultimate guide on Oni went down so well, I have decided to study some more killers and I'm glad to be able to bring you another ultimate guide. Today we are going to be going through everybody's favourite pet, the Demogorgon. Quickly before we start, I would like to say that the Demogorgon is quite a difficult killer to play, as against the right team he can really struggle. However, with these tips and tricks that I'm going to tell you, hopefully with time, practice and patience, you'll be a lethal Demogorgon. So, with that being said, this is the ultimate guide to the Demogorgon. Firstly, let's go through his perks and add-ons. Now, unfortunately for high skill players, Demogorgon is incredibly perk and add-on reliant, as without a good build to back up your skill, this is where Demo starts to show his weaknesses. However, with regards to his add-ons, there is a silver lining that his best add-ons are mostly brown, the best being Rat Liver, which slightly increases the Demogorgon's movement speed whilst charging his Shred. This is essential, as with this add-on he walks at normal speed even when fully charging his Shred, which is fantastic for mind gaming or baiting survivors without having to suffer from reduced speeds. His other best being Blackheart for faster recovery from missed Shred attacks. Also worth noting that Mew's Guts does the same as this, as well as grants an additional portal, so this add-on is worth running as well. As for his other add-ons, they don't really do that much to enhance his power, and some even worsen it, namely both of his iridescent add-ons, which are both more or less useless. I honestly mean it when I say that his best add-ons are brown. That is all you're going to need, so fortunately he's a really cheap killer to maintain. In regards to his perks, before I give a couple of examples of some good builds, I want to stress the importance of a perk that is needed on more or less every single demo build. This perk being Save the Best for Last. This perk is absolutely crazy on Demogorgon, as everybody you hit makes you stronger, and if you find your obsession, shred them instead and lose no stacks. This perk alone makes Demogorgon playable at high rank. Don't get me wrong, you may be able to consistently win without it, but more times than not, you'll need this as one of your perks, especially for new players. So I'm going to be doing things a little bit differently than I did in my Oni video. In my Oni video I gave you a couple of builds and some good perks. Instead in this one though, I'm going to recommend 4 builds that each have a different target. The first, for high rank players, Save the Best for Last, Pop Goes the Weasel, Corrupt Intervention and Barbecue and Chili. Place portals at the beginning of the game without fear of losing 2 gens in the setup before being able to build your stacks, down survivors quickly and take away gen progress before moving on. This is probably the build that I use the most as Demogorgon. For low ranking killers or people just starting as the Demogorgon who maybe don't have all the perks unlocked or maybe don't have many teachables unlocked at all, Sloppy Butcher, Bitter Murmur, Iron Grasp and Spies from the Shadows. Spies from the Shadow and Bitter Murmur are both great for information and will give you a lot of knowledge to help track survivors. Sloppy makes it so that they have to heal longer and helps you with gen pressure, and Iron Grasp is just a nice little extra perk to potentially get survivors to the basement for better pressure. A great little starting build for him. If you want an extremely aggressive Demogorgon build, run Spirit Fury, Enduring, Save the Best for Last and Infectious Fright. Do not respect pallets and don't respect survivors. It can be risky without any gen regress perks, but if you snowball this correctly and with a bit of good map RNG, this build can be incredibly scary for survivors. And lastly, just for an extra little funny meme build, run Deer Lung and Rotten Green Tripe for much faster teleportation speed, and then the perks Territorial Imperative, Make Your Choice, Hex Devour Hope and Agitation. Hook a survivor in the basement and place 2 portals close. Move away and try and distance yourself outside of the Make Your Choice and Devour radius for the stack. When Territorial triggers, teleport, hit with the insta-down, rinse, repeat, then feast. So that's pretty much the perk builds that I'm going to give. Now we're going to move on to tips and tricks and what to do at the start of the game. So when the match first starts, use this time to place portals around the map and gens. When doing this, try to position your portals behind sight blockers and within grass to help shield them when used. Also, putting a portal between 2 gens helps save on how many you can use. After placing some portals, that's when it's time to try and find survivors. Now, if the survivors you're chasing start to take you into an area of the map that you don't have any portals put, if you can, try and get some down while you're in the chase, as you want as many portals across the map as you can. A lot of the Demogorgons that I've watched fail with him because they don't know how to use their portals efficiently, or sometimes I've seen don't even use them at all, as well as the potentially not understanding his Shred attack, which is better than you might think. But his portals are very important to his gameplay, as when these portals are down and scattered you have incredibly good map pressure if used correctly, and having good map pressure is something that is really important to the Demogorgon. The main time you want to be using your portals is after you've hooked a survivor. Then with Barbecue you can either see any gens being worked on, teleport to them quickly, damage the gen and then hopefully continue the chase. Or sometimes just using portals to cover a lot of distance on the map is handy. For example, if I place a portal at the start and find nobody in the first minute of the game, I'm able to teleport back and check through the gens I left and not waste any time walking back and forth. but since his portals can't be used as often as he maybe should, you do have to pick and choose when to use them carefully. But honestly, this is one of the things that will take time to get right. Not too long, bear in mind, but you will need a touch of practice to know how to effectively teleport and when and where to put them. So now his shred attack, which I think can be quite underrated, not without its problems and weaknesses, but it is stronger than most people think when used correctly. There are two states to the shred for those who don't know. If charged for just over half a second, you will do a mini shred, where you'll be able to pull it off faster but won't make up as much of the distance, and when held for longer than a second, you will be able to do a full shred attack, which covers up to 11 meters, which is roughly about the length of a shack wall. Now, shred is interesting because some of the best uses for this power is to bait and trick survivors into making mistakes or making them change the loops. When holding your power at an injured survivor, it's fantastic for baiting deadhards, and since you don't lose any speed whilst holding the shred attack thanks to the add-on, then once baited you can either stop holding it down and stack an M1 hit as normal, or if it's the obsession or a survivor with a little bit of extra distance in the chase, shred as normal. Faking shred can also stop survivors vaulting windows or pallets when used correctly, regardless if they're healthy or injured. When they fake the window, once again, either hit as normal or shred when they get bottlenecked. Now for actually using shred in a chase, you want to get the survivors using the longer and the straighter loops wherever possible, as around small loops shred is pretty much unusable and much harder to bait survivors with. Also, knowing when to be patient and when to shred can be a very fine line, but something that we can learn more over time. Most of the time when a survivor runs towards a window, try and wait for the vault animation to be locked in, and once it is, then shred. And honestly, don't worry, as you'd be surprised how many times you can actually hit once you've waited the extra second. Especially at the shack. If chased, you are able to either wait for the lock animation on the window, or if they fake it towards the pallet, shred at that instead. And then most times, you'll be able to get a hit. This also goes for jungle gyms as well, force them a certain way, and when you have the clear range to fully shred, go for it. You can also shred at about a 30-degree angle, so don't worry if you think the angle might be a bit off, as he has quite a wide swing from these attacks, and sometimes you are able to hit a survivor as they're not expecting you to shred them. This also goes for breaking pallets and walls. But honestly, that's pretty much how and when to use his power covered. He's quite basic, but it can take a bit to really get used to both his shreds and his portals, so keep at it, you can only get better. So additional tips and tricks for demo, let's start with using elevation to your advantage, as a shred from a high place such as the top of the saloon on Dead Dog Saloon will carry you much further than 11 meters and can be a good alternative to using portals. Also, don't worry about shredding up and down stairs, unlike Victor, you totally can, so go for it. Also, an extra trick that some people don't know is that if you hold shred, Instinct will show you survivors that walk on or near active portals. It isn't the best, but it occasionally has helped me track a survivor. Try to replace as many portals as you can, but once again, be smart when placing them and always try to either cover them or make sure at least you can merge close but out of sight. Portals placed but not travelled through will appear white on your map, and survivors will not be able to see them. Once travelled through, they turn yellow and survivors are able to destroy them, so try to only use yellow portals if you can before opening a new white one. Also keep in mind, high elevation shreds will not damage survivors no matter how much it looks like hits. If you try and shred from a high level, you will not hit the survivor on a lower level no matter what. Don't shred every pallet and breakable wall. If you get pallet stunned, just destroy it normally instead of powering your shred, waiting for the shred, actually shredding, and then about 3 seconds recovery. Just break it as normal and you'll actually save time. Shred pallets and breakable walls when you've got distance to cover. Try to manipulate your red stain in chases to be able to get shreds on unexpected survivors in a chase. Bear in mind this isn't 100% efficient, but definitely worth mentioning as I have got a couple of cheeky hits with this. Charge animation will also end if you fall, so be careful not to fall off anything whilst trying to shred from a high place. If you have 2 or 3 portals for the endgame, trap both doors and travel to one, walk back and repeat. Even if a survivor destroys one of the portals, you may have time to get them before they unlock the exit gate. Doesn't work 100% of the time however, but probably my most reliable strat for endgame. And honestly, my last tip is if you're really wanting to start learning and understanding Demogorgon, you're going to have to be patient and you are going to have to play him. Everything I've mentioned above are great things to do and great reminders of what to do whilst you're playing, but you do need practice doing them to get really used to Demo and his power. And also remember, in his current state, he is fairly weak, so if you want to use him at high ranks, sometimes you will lose miserably and there'll be not much that you can do about it. He does need some love, but I still think he has some potential in his current state, and he is incredibly fun to play. But finally, for the survivors who want to know how to be more efficient against Demogorgon, there's honestly only 2 things that I can suggest. Destroy portals as often as you can, as doing this makes his map pressure go down to non-existent, which is amazing for gen work or healing if you know he can't just teleport straight next to you. And when looping, try to stick to loops that are either full of clutter for him to bash into, or one that can break line of sight easy so his shred isn't as effective. Also, baiting windows is a must, but be careful when in the open, as running in a straight line isn't good, but neither is zigzagging, as by doing this demo is going to get a hit one way or another. Be unpredictable so that it can't mind game you with a shred. And honestly guys, that's it. I know this is a little bit quicker than the only one, and I think on second glance I might have just rambled a bit too much in that. I've tried to keep this very quick and streamlined and easy to understand, so hopefully I've done that. I'm really hoping this is an improvement on the only one. There may have been a few things that I've missed or I didn't really think that was worth mentioning, such as his car tech with him, but as I find that it's just really not reliable enough and would only hinder Demo's ability. But I really did hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments if you have any, or even some of your own ideas for those who know how to play Demogorgon well. Also, just in case you aren't aware, I do stream on Twitch 4 days a week, and more often than not it's Killer on Dead by Daylight, so feel free to pop by there as well if you have any questions. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to leave a like if it's helped, and consider subscribing for more future Dead by Daylight guides and content. That's all. Thank you so much for watching. Take care. Bye bye for now.